team that we saw do very well in Players Cup 2 with Togekiss over Galarian Moltres. Leonard, on the other hand, is running something a bit more, I'd say newer feeling, like Series 9 feeling with that Registeel and Landorus Therian combination.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty fun team when you look at it. Of course, Marco not having notable accomplishments, but at this point, if he can win a couple more rounds and make it towards Players Cup 4 Global Finals, that would be a great accomplishment to add to his name. But on Leonard's side, many accomplishments for them. North America top 16, as well as the top 64 finish in 2017. Collinsville Regional semifinalist in 2018. And then the St. Charles Regionals top 8. That Registeel, we've seen a lot of talk about Registeel going into Players Cup 4, and it has really shined so far.
Yeah, both the Registeel and Landorus Therian, especially when they're on a team together, have been, I think, what I heard the most about getting prepared for this tournament and, try and figure out, okay, what kind of matchups do I expect? And I'm really glad that we get to feature this matchup in particular, because I think the Registeel and the Landorus Therian were picked up because of the popularity of Colossal back in Players Cup 2, which was the last time we had a format like this for a Players Cup. I think the Landorus Therian is going to be very important for Leonard, as it can hit that Colossal super hard. You get those max air streams to allow you to get some speed control going on the field. But Marco is running like the latest variant of this team with a more offensive Dragapult in addition to some other tweaks. So it should be a really fun matchup, and I think both these trainers are going to bring their all.
Yeah, so this should be it should be pretty exciting. Obviously, we've seen both of these trainers winning yesterday, and unfortunately, one of them is going to have to move over to the loser side. So let's not waste any more time and get started here in Game 1 between Marco Martinez and Leonard Kraft. We're going to be seeing it from Marco's perspective. So on the top of the screen is Leonard's start with the Regieleki and Spectrier, and Marco having Togekiss, Dragapult as their open here in Game 1.
All right, so we have this older lead here. The Dragapult and the Togekiss is something that we've been seeing all the way back to the beginning of the competitive format in Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, whereas Regieleki and the Spectrier are two Pokemon that were introduced in the Crown Tundra expansion, which is kind of fun. You have this really interesting matchup. You get two ghost types on the field. You have Regieleki staring down a Togekiss. Unfortunately for Marco, though, the Togekiss is at a huge disadvantage because Regieleki should be able to knock it out. Same thing between the Spectrier and the Dragapult. So it's looking like Marco's going to have to make some adjustments immediately and maybe rely more on the defensive attributes of Togekiss to give this Dragapult space to do its thing.
Will Dragapult be as strong as it was yesterday for Marco? We are going to find out in this set. As turn 1, Marco decides to Dynamax the Dragapult in this spot. No switches from either of the trainers here. Togekiss with a Protect, expecting potentially an electric attack from Regieleki, since that's pretty much the only thing Regieleki knows, and that Thunderbolt does go towards the Protect. The Will-O-Wisp, though, from Spectrier connecting onto Dragapult, that is going to very much hurt this offensive output because it's a physical attacker. But luckily for Marco, Spectrier is one of the frailest Pokemon out there because it's so fast and so offensive that even through the burn, that's able to claim a knockout.
Yeah, a lot of teams that rely on Spectrier count on it only being around for maybe 1, maybe 2 turns. In Leonard's case, the Spectrier had access to Will-O-Wisp, it had access to Taunt, so really just there to stop Trick Room, maybe stop a physical attacker like Dragapult from running through the rest of his team, and then get something in that can be the perfect adaptation to this Dynamaxed Dragapult. Leonard does have the Registeel, which is the Pokemon that will be sent out onto the field right now. And really, Registeel is a great choice, as Togekiss and Dragapult are going to struggle to hit it hard. Yes, Max Phantasm can weaken its defenses, and if you have seen some of these Registeel in this tournament, you'll know that it really wants to get that bulk up as high as possible thanks to Iron Defense. But still, a great way for Leonard to sort of slow play down down, get through the remaining 2 turns of Marco's Dynamax, and then set himself up for a late game victory. If you're Marco and you're trying to adjust to that, I think you just have to keep hitting those max phantasms. You have to do damage where it counts, get those knockouts, and rely on whatever is in the back of your party, which, given it's an Incineroar and an Urshifu, both those Pokemon have a great matchup against the only Steel type Registeel.
And with 1 second on the clock, Marco was able to successfully switch out the Togekiss, obviously not wanting to stay in against an electric type and a steel type. Thanks to Registeel's clear body, though, that Intimidate is not going to drop its attack stat there. So that's another big benefit of running Registeel, is you can't... Yes, of course, Incineroar can hit you super effectively with Flare Blitz, but it has no way of intimidating you. The Registeel is not the Dynamax option for Leonard here in Game 1. Instead, it is Regieleki, going to get very big, most likely go for an electric attack here, and that will set up the electric terrain for following turns to do even more damage. Incineroar hanging on with 3 HP, so just barely not enough for a one-hit KO there. That could have really changed the tides for Leonard, as the Incineroar would have been knocked out for free, no fake out or anything. Max Phantasm from Dragapult, thanks to the Will-O-Wisp, ensures that Regieleki sticks around for the next turn. And there's the Iron Defense you were talking about, Gabby. That is going to boost Registeel's defense by 2 stages. And then, the more defensive you get, the stronger you actually get from the body press.
Yeah, and this Registeel, honestly, staring down an Incineroar and a Dragapult probably won't feel like it has to do anything different. Incineroar can easily be knocked out by that Regieleki. It will outspeed the Dragapult, and even if Incineroar were to try and go for a fake out or get a little bit of chip damage in before it's knocked out on the field, Registeel will basically be at full health next turn to continue doing the same. It's Registeel's game, we're just living in it.
Absolutely, that's how it should be. Regieleki actually going for max guard on Dragapult's 3rd and final turn of Dynamax. That was actually a very smart move out of him. Body press, ignoring the taunt, understanding Incineroar was going to go for that play. Leonard, great adjustment, did not get greedy, didn't go for a second Iron Defense, instead getting the knockout. And now Incineroar is down in this game. Didn't get much accomplished here. Of course, it does have the taunt that is affecting Registeel for the next couple of turns, so there's no Iron Defenses or protects at this moment. Registeel is going to have to stay at +2 defense.
Registeel could switch out with whatever in the back of Leonard's party, and if that Pokemon is something like the Landorus, like we were talking about before this game, that will ensure Urshifu will have its attack weakened. It'll ensure that Registeel can come back in a turn and, use those status moves effectively. Really, I think a switch here would be pretty smart for Leonard, and Marco just has to keep going on the offensive. Otherwise, this Regieleki is going to continue to score knockout after knockout.
Well, he can't knock out Urshifu thanks to the Focus Sash, so that will bring Urshifu down to 1 HP. Dragapult with the Phantom Force is really more not to do as much damage since it's burned, but it gives you that invulnerability since it's a 2-turn attack there. The Surging Strikes, though, will critically connect on Regieleki every time. Doesn't even need the 3rd hit, as the first 2 are able to take it down from the original Max Phantasm, the defense drop that it took, so those critical hits hurt even harder than they would have, and Heavy Slam out of Registeel. The double target into Urshifu takes it down, and now Leonard is in a pretty strong spot. He has to bring in his 4th Pokemon here. He's going to reveal that, but Registeel is really looking very strong against the Togekiss and the Dragapult.
Yeah, Registeel has access to Heavy Slam, which will be doing a lot of damage to this Togekiss. And if the last Pokemon on Leonard's side of the field is the Landorus, as we hypothesized, that Pokemon's going to have access to Rock Slide, it's going to have access to Fly in order to hit the Dragapult. I think it's going to come down to how much damage this Phantom Force will do, presumably to the Landorus, possibly to the Registeel, and if it's enough for a 2-hit knockout, how are you going to do against the Registeel after that? It's a tough position because Leonard very smartly targeted both the Incineroar and the Urshifu prior to the other Pokemon on Marco's side of the field, knowing that those last Pokemon won't be able to hurt Registeel. And if you're looking for a way to keep Registeel even safer on top of all of what I just said, having Clefairy as your last Pokemon is a very bold way to do it. That Friend Guard ability will further boost Registeel's defenses, and Follow Me will ensure it cannot be hit. Again, this is Registeel's game.
That is a great adjustment, or from what we would typically see. Usually you kind of lead Clefairy to have the Follow Me right away, but instead Leonard deciding to bring Clefairy in the back and saving it for a late game condition. Has to take 2 attacks there, one of them being a critical hit from the Togekiss though. Does hang on. Heavy Slam is not enough to knock out Togekiss, does bring it down to under half of its HP there. The taunt has worn off. I'm not sure if Registeel needs to Iron Defense at this point. You just go for the body slams, but Clefairy has one more Follow Me in it.
It does. Clefairy could also go for a Helping Hand, or maybe even a Sing if Leonard thinks that Marco's going to take a bit of a slower turn, which, as we just saw him lock in, it looks like the Dragapult and the Togekiss won't be dealing damage this turn. I want to touch on the fact, though, that Clefairy is such a bold pick to have as your last Pokemon. Leonard's confidence in this Registeel is incredible.
Clefairy will Follow Me yet again on this turn, and Dragapult with the Phantom Force. It's pretty much Marco's best option to try to break through that Will-O-Wisp. We have the same type attack bonus, and it keeps the Dragapult pretty safe because you know it's not going to get targeted down that turn. Registeel's attack went into Togekiss's Protect there, so no damage at all at that turn except for the burn damage.
Yeah, and Phantom Force also ensures that if this Clefairy tries to protect to dodge damage from the Togekiss, that'll be ineffective. So just a consistent way to get Clefairy down in a couple of turns, but it looks like Clefairy's gonna have to take one more attack.
It's not enough. The Clefairy just barely hanging on, and the insult to injury getting the crit on like 2 HP when you really didn't need it. You needed that extra damage out of the burned Dragapult, and Marco did not get it. So now Registeel takes out Togekiss, and it is Dragapult versus Registeel. This Dragapult is slowly knocking itself out thanks to the burn damage, but as well, of course, we're going to see that forfeit locked in potentially because the Registeel's full health, and I think even through a critical hit, the Dragapult can't knock it out.
Yeah, and the other thing you have to keep in mind is that Phantom Force really was Dragapult's best attack there, and every turn that Phantom Force isn't, attacking, so that turn when Dragapult disappears from the field, that's another opportunity for Registeel to get an Iron Defense in for free. So Leonard, looking at the information available to him prior to this match, identifying that Registeel really is the Pokemon to face Marco's team with, and then piloting that perfectly. Now, I will say it's interesting to me that Marco did not bring the Colossal in that matchup. You would think that if you're playing against a Steel-type Pokemon, your Fire-type Pokemon that can also do residual damage and, maybe punish some of that slower play a little bit more effectively would be the way to go. And while we have seen Dragapult and Togekiss do some incredible things in this tournament already, I think that with this matchup, you're best to leave them on the bench and maybe switch to that traditional mode, if you will, of good old large Colossal.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Gabby, that Marco didn't bring Colossal. One thing I might expect is if I was playing in that situation, I would have expected a Clefairy lead. So if you bring Colossal out and Clefairy has Follow Me redirection, then that super effective fire attack you want to go into Registeel is actually going towards the Clefairy instead. So now Marco understanding that Clefairy was actually a late game option being brought in the back instead of in a turn 1 decision out of Leonard, maybe that does free him up to say, hey, I have some access here on Colossal that I can get a couple turns in and get my G-Max attacks off, G-Max Volcolith, and get residual damage rolling in before the Clefairy comes out.
Yeah, another option for Marco to adjust would be to try and stop that Spectrier from connecting a Will-O-Wisp with Dragapult as well. So maybe leave Togekiss on the bench. I think that everything else in Marco's game plan was pretty solid. And then just hope that you don't get burned.
Hey, that's a strategy I can get
It's a strategy.
behind. Yeah, I'm definitely, if you see 85% chance to get burned, I see a 15% chance to not get burned. That's the positive outlook you need to have when you're playing VGC.
Definitely.
All right, so let's get into game 2 here between Marco Martinez and Leonard Kraft. Obviously, how we saw in game 1, how that went, Leonard was the victor. So, is he going to get a clean 2-0, or will Marco force a game 3? There is the Colossal adjustment, Gabby, but there's Clefairy as well. So, this is not what Marco wanted to see, because any attacks that could go towards Regieleki would just be redirected into Clefairy.
Yeah, unfortunately, this would be the perfect lead had Leonard gone with the Spectrier and Regieleki once again. Instead, we are in this spot where Marco is forced to immediately adjust. You cannot count on the Aqua Jet to connecting with the Colossal. You can't count on any damage, really, connecting with any Pokemon that isn't Clefairy with this lead, but... interestingly enough, if you go for that G-Max Vocalith, you will start getting residual damage on both these Pokemon, and that might be enough to turn a 2-turn knockout on Clefairy into a single turn, at which point you are free to just do what Colossal does best and go for those big hits.
No switch outs from either Marco or Leonard here on turn 1. Of course, Marco wouldn't do that because he brought Colossal for a reason, and that was for Gigantamax. As we've seen through all the Players' Cups so far, Colossal has been such an unstoppable force when it can get its G-Max rolling. Electro Web from Regieleki brings Urshifu down to its Focus Sash there, so Urshifu, already at 1 HP, is not going to hang on for that long. The speeds will drop on both Colossal and Urshifu, and Surging Strikes from Urshifu going towards the Clefairy slot. So you're going to have 3 critical hits here. They do have low base power, so it is going to bring Clefairy down to pretty much around 50% of its HP. And then now the Clefairy with Sing connects on Colossal. Colossal, not only did it not get the weakness policy boost, it doesn't even get to attack on its first turn of G-Max. And it's just a sitting duck here, and you have to tempt fate that you're going to wake up this turn, and you're still not fast because you haven't activated Steam Engine yet.
So this Clefairy has been trained to be faster than Colossal after a Electroweb drop prior to Steam Engine activation. And what you have here is Leonard assuming that Marco would assume that Clefairy would go for Follow Me, so Aqua Jet was not viable, and instead going for Sing, which isn't 100% accurate on top of all that.
Far from it.
Again, the confidence in Leonard's play here is incredible.
That I love the VGC mind games. Oh, you think I'm going to click Follow Me? No, I'm putting your G-Max Pokemon to sleep. Now I didn't do it. Now I am clicking Follow Me. What are you going to do about it? Attack from Regieleki goes into the Urshifu, knocking it out there. So now Marco has lost that easy access, that priority that Urshifu Rapid Strike can have Aqua Jet to target down the Colossal. That's now gone from this game. If Marco brought Dragapult, there is of course still the Surf option as a potential way to activate Steam Engine, but the Volt Switch from Regieleki is going to switch in Landorus Therian, Intimidate not mattering right now, and the second turn of G-Max, the Colossal stays asleep. We do see that Togekiss and Incineroar are the final two brought in this situation, so there is no Dragapult to activate the Steam Engine.
There is not, and we got a great adjustment from Leonard with the reveal of that Landorus, leaving the Spectrier most likely behind, bringing the Pokemon that just gives you that perfect matchup against Colossal, the Fire Rock type Pokemon. You have to be a little bit careful here. Earthquake would deal damage to your Clefairy and possibly knock it out from this range, which, you know, would not be ideal, but since Leonard has not gone for Dynamax yet, I think this Landorus is the perfect target for it. Go for the Dynamax, go for the Max Quakes, you know, get those knockouts going, and then worry about the Togekiss and the Incineroar after the G-Max Colossal has been removed from the field, since if Colossal does find a way to wake up this turn, that could be huge.
Incineroar does switch into the Togekiss slot there, so this Intimidate is going to matter against Landorus as one of the strongest physical attackers in the format. And we saw yesterday how strong Dynamax Landorus was for Leonard. That is exactly the same option that Leonard is going to go for here in this game too. Dynamax Landorus has access to those Max Quakes you were talking about. Super effective on either Incineroar or Colossal. So Helping Hand from Clefairy will essentially negate that Intimidate, making this strong Max Airstream not enough for a one-hit KO. Man, this Incineroar has taken a beating in this set. When it switched it lived on 3 health. Now it's already down to the red after 1 hit in game 2. But Colossal finally joining the action here on its third and final turn of G-Max with that G-Max Volcalith not doing a lot of damage because there is no weakness policy boost set up. So the Landorus is actually still relatively healthy. There will be some residual damage onto the Clefairy each turn thanks to the G-Max effect from Colossal. But now the Dynamax is over on Marco's side, and Leonard has 2 more turns of G-Max available to him.
Yeah, I was hoping that residual damage from the G-Max Volcalith would have done just a little bit more to that Clefairy, possibly to remove it from the field after this turn with fake out damage, but I think it's just gonna miss that knockout, unfortunately. Clefairy proving to be the perfect partner for all of the Pokemon on Leonard's team, providing that helping hand to mitigate the Intimidate, like you mentioned, Joe, providing the Follow Me to protect Regieleki, to protect Registeel, just really some great combinations here. And unfortunately for Marco, I think that as long as Clefairy remains on the field, he's going to have to keep playing around it. And Leonard's predictions in terms of what Marco assumes the Clefairy will be doing have just been perfect every single time.
Togekiss switching into the Colossal slot there, so a helping hand from Clefairy. Leonard not baited by the Colossal, instead going for Max Airstream into Incineroar. That covered either Togekiss switching to the Incineroar slot, or if he didn't switch out, then you're securing the knockout on Incineroar there. So that was the safest play Leonard could make. Instead of going for Max Quake on the Colossal, who switched in to Togekiss, Leonard made the smart decision there of just securing a knockout on Incineroar. The Clefairy is down very, very low now. I would assume that's so close. I would assume the Volcalith damage takes it out at the end of the turn, but I can't be certain.
It's tough. It's going to be tough, but I think Clefairy has accomplished everything it has needed to do for this game, since this is Landorus Therion's last turn of Dynamax. It could go for the Max Quake into the Colossal, it could go for another Airstream, or maybe even a Max Rockfall into that Togekiss, and then when the Clefairy's knocked out, or maybe even switch the Clefairy around, use Protect to ensure you don't take damage, Earthquake to knock out that Colossal to take the game. It's just been a great friend in this game for Landorus, for Regieleki, and I'm really loving how Leonard is just continuing to keep it on the field and not feeling pressured to go for Follow Me every single turn, like I think a lot of Clefairy players default to in situations like this.
3 turns in a row, you're going to have a Helping Hand boosted Dynamax attack out of the Landorus. Togekiss has Follow Me on its side, so this will redirect the Max Airstream, of course. That's the 3rd Max Airstream towards it, and Togekiss is able to hang on with a sliver of HP. If it wasn't for that initial Intimidate, a few turns ago, the Landorus would have been able to knock it out from the Helping Hand boost, but instead it will just barely hang on. And the Heat Wave does connect onto both of Leonard's Pokemon, knocking out the Clefairy, but does not get a burn on Landorus. So now that Landorus is done with its Dynamax, it's going to be, super fast with those three boosts to its speed, and Leonard still has a very healthy, team in the back.
Yeah, Regieleki on Leonard's team does have access to Protect. It's not one of those choice specs variants we've seen do very well throughout the tournament here in regional finals. So as a result, you could Protect, go for Earthquake, you could Rock Slide. Landorus has whatever move it wants to use at its disposal this upcoming turn, and Regieleki just has to be there to support. If Landorus decides to go for a Rock Slide or a Fly, Thunderbolt to KO the Togekiss would probably be the best play. If Landorus decides to go for Earthquake to knock out that Colossal, then you go for the Protect so you don't knock out your own Pokemon at the same time. The Togekiss is probably the scarier Pokemon if you're in Leonard's shoes right now. This is a Super Luck Togekiss, which means it'll be trying to hit critical hits more than it will be trying to find those secondary effects like a flinch from the Air Slash, but you just don't want to give your opponent that opportunity, you know? And like, hypothetically, if you go with Earthquake, you're not going to damage Togekiss. If you go with Rock Slide and it misses or something, I think you just go for the safe play once again and then go for the Colossal the next turn. Just very, very well played by Leonard.
And that has been the approach Leonard has shown all set so far, taking the safe option, not, you know, making a risky play like Max Quaking and the Togekiss takes that slot. Instead, understanding that he'll do less damage for Max Airstream since it's not super effective, but it would actually help him later on because he's doing safer, consistent damage. And I really like how Leonard has shown, you know, how to play this team composition in this game. A Protect out of Regieleki, which lets everybody know the Earthquake was coming from Landorus, and that will be 4 times super effective into the Colossal. So without that, the Gigantamax boost to its HP, Colossal never stood a chance against that Earthquake. Togekiss going for a Protect that turn, meaning it doesn't even get any damage off onto Leonard's side, but the G-Max Volca residual damage will be enough to take down Landorus and hit the Regieleki, forcing Leonard to reveal his 4th Pokemon.
So it'll be nice to see if Leonard did indeed bring the Registeel, which it looks like that was his final Pokemon choice. But I want to go back to something you mentioned the other day, Joe, just how Leonard has this mastery of mechanics within this game. And I think that his ability to look at all the different plays on the field and just consistently go for the safe option, you know, consistently predict how his opponent is going to anticipate the Clefairy moving,